With the mergers and acquisitions that Lockheed was doing, we shared data with outsourced data providers. And again, it was a common case of going back and saying, look, we need to build a vault in the outsourced data provider environment to make the information sharing better, to make the data quality better. And we also instituted this notion of TQM. And in total quality management, we involved the SLAs, or the service level agreements, between Lockheed and the suppliers. And we said, you know what, we're going to pay you less money as long as your data quality keeps going down or stays the same. And if you want to earn the right revenue, well, then you have to prove to us that you're improving the quality, and we'll bring that back under play. Lockheed is 150,000 employees, at least it was back when I was working there, 7 sectors of business and 53 companies internally. And that doesn't even begin to scratch the surface of what IT had to do. And then the external data providers. So we were building warehouses across the company within, as well as, and when I say across, I mean across multiple companies within Lockheed, as well as externally. And this was a large challenge for data ownership and privacy and data sharing. We shared data with NASA and the launch pad for rockets, as well as some of the shuttle missions. And so this was part of how the data set translated across. It was all bit and parcel due to the data vault processes and what we were doing with information trust and sharing there. One of the things that has gotten lost over the years in data warehousing is this nature of tolerance levels. People seem to have, or in general, data warehouse practitioners seem to have this laziness, not by design, but a laziness about them in terms of it's good enough. And so therefore, I don't need to fix it, or I don't need to address it. And businesses, to some degree, have gotten lazy about this as well. Well, as long as I have an address that is somewhat close to what I need, then it's good enough. And this really isn't what I designed the data vault for. If you think about engineering tolerance levels, if you're designing a rocket to go to Mars, you need very, very low tolerance for failure on your parts, on your pieces, on your plans, your flight plans, your methods, your rocket fuel. Everything's measured down to the umpteenth decimal point. Because if you don't do that, you're going to miss Mars by millions of miles, or you're going to miss the ability to even get where you're going. And so tolerance levels come into the data vault at this engineering grain. Because of the environment I grew up in, so to speak, in building data vaults and warehouses, I had adopted this nature of very low tolerance for failure in the standards, in the patterns, in the repeatable processes, in the data itself. And this was one of the things Lockheed said to me in the beginning: we can't afford to conform data, because if you apply a business rule that's wrong on the way into the warehouse, then our rocket blows up. We need to find out why the rocket blew up, or why it failed in a test lab. And which happened quite frequently. And the only way to find out why it failed in a test lab is to go back and look at the reams of raw information that was fed to the warehouse in the beginning. So this requires a much more tighter tolerance level, or lower tolerance level for failure at the data level, as well as at the process or the business process level. And so this is what we built into the solution so that we could increase the success rate of the rockets off of the launch pad. And in case you didn't know, back then, rocket builds and satellites ranged into the billions of dollars per contract. So, you don't want to blow up a rocket and lose $1 billion and have to build another one on behalf of your customer. That's just not a good thing to do. So these tolerance levels, now, if you use the data vault approach and methodology, you follow the standards and rules, these tolerance levels are baked into the whole process and methodology. So you end up with a much higher quality result for your enterprise warehouse.